Yeah, hello and welcome. My name is Alan and we are back with more Bhagavad Gita. I am late in making the video as usual. It's late in the day. It's evening. But at least it's the same day it's supposed to be out. So I ain't going to whine too much. Anyway, let's jump into this. Chapter 14, The Forces of Evolution. The last chapter gave us the distinction between Purusha and Prakriti. This chapter would tell us in more detail about the nature of Prakriti, the basis of the world of the mind and matter. Before the Gita explains human experience in terms of three qualities of Prakriti known as gunas, Sattva, Rajas, and Tamas, when the soul attains illumination, it goes beyond the confines of Prakriti into the spiritual realm of Purusha. But until then, the soul must learn to deal with these three all-powerful forces. No single English word can be given to translate the words Sattva, Rajas, and Tamas. The quality of Sattva combines goodness, purity, light, harmony, balance. In terms of evolution, Sattva is on the highest level. Rajas is energy, or in human level, passion, which can be both good and bad. In personality, Rajas may express itself in anger, hatred, or greed, but it also provides motivation, the will to act. Rajas is ambitious, which is not altogether a bad thing for the evolution of the soul. It is definitely superior to the third guna, Tamas, which combines inertia, sloth, darkness, ignorance, insensitivity. This is the lowest state in terms of evolution. For Tamas, it means a deadly stability, a dead stability, where nothing much happens for good or ill. Worse, Tamas can mean not just stability, but a sliding backwards in the struggle of evolution, where to stand still may mean to be left behind. In any given personality or phenomenon, in all the three gunas are likely to be present. It is the mix of the three that colors our experience. Sattva may be dominant with an admixture of Rajas or Tamas, but perhaps Rajas dominates with a little Sattva and a good measure of Tamas. Finally, the personality may be basically tamasic with a few rays of light of Sattva and a little of the heat of Rajas. In any case, no mix of the three gunas is stable, for it is the nature of Prakriti to be in constant flux. The gunas are constantly shifting, always changing in intensity. It is essential that the gunas, even the purity and the goodness of Sattva, be transcended if the soul is to attain its final release. For the three gunas are forces that operate within the world of Prakriti. In fact, their three strands make up the whole fabric of the phenomenal world. Liberation lies beyond the conditioning of Prakriti, in the realm of Purusha. When Arjuna asks Krishna to describe the person who has gone beyond Prakriti's net, Krishna replies that no such person, or that such a person is detached from the constant shifting and interaction of the gunas. Identified with the self, he or she realizes that the gunas and their play are external. Even the emotions and thoughts that seem so personal, so interior, are really only the play of Prakriti. Thoughts and emotions and ahamkara itself stop at the gate of the inner self. The self abides in the inner chamber of the heart, always at peace. Whatever forces of Prakriti may storm outside, the illumined man or woman maintains a joyful evenness of mind in happiness and sorrow. At the end of the chapter, again reminding him of the power of devotion, bhakti, Krishna says that Arjuna can transcend the gunas through steadfast love. If he has devotion and has gone beyond the three gunas, he will be fit to know Brahman. Forces of Evolution text. Krishna, let me tell you more about the wisdom that transcends all knowledge, through which the saints and the sages attain perfection. Those who rely on the wisdom will be united with me. For them there is neither rebirth nor fear of death. My womb is Prakriti. In that I place the seed. Thus all created things are born. Everything born, Arjuna, comes from the womb of Prakriti, and I am the seed-giving father. It is the three gunas born of Prakriti, Sattva, Rajas, and Tamas, that bind the immortal self to the body. Sattva, pure, luminous, and free from sorrow, binds us with the attachment to happiness and wisdom. Rajas is passion arising from the selfish desire and attachment. These bind self with compulsive action. Tamas, born of ignorance, deludes all creatures through needlessness, indolence, and sleep. Sattva binds us to happiness. Rajas binds us to action. Tamas, distorting our understanding, binds us to delusion. Sattva predominates when Rajas and Tamas are transformed. Rajas prevails when Sattva is weak and Tamas overcome. Tamas prevail when Rajas and Sattva are dormant. When Sattva predominates, the light of wisdom shines through the gate of the body. When Rajas predominates, a person runs about pursuing selfish and greedy ends driven by restlessness and desire. When Tamas is dominant, a person lives in darkness, slothful, confused, and easily infatuated. Those dying in the state of Sattva attain the pure worlds of the wise. Those dying in Rajas are born among people driven by work. But those who die in Tamas are conceived in the wombs of the ignorant. The fruit of the good deeds is pure and sattvic. The fruit of Rajas is suffering. The fruit of Tamas is ignorance and insensitivity. From Sattva comes understanding. from Rajas, greed. From the outcome of Tamas is confusion, infatuation, and ignorance. Those who live in Sattva go upwards. Those who remain where they are, those in Rajas remain where they are. But those immersed in Tamas sink downwards. The wise see clearly that all action is the work of the gunas. Knowing that which is above the gunas, they enter into union with me. Going beyond the three gunas which form the body, they leave behind the cycle of birth and death, increpitude and decrepitude and sorrow, and attain to immortality. Arjuna: what are the characteristics of those who have gone beyond the gunas, O Lord? How do they act? How have they passed beyond the gunas' hold? Krishna: they are unmoved by the harmony of the Sattva, the activity of Rajas, and the delusion of Tamas. They feel no aversion when these forces are active, nor do they crave for them when these forces subside. They remain impartial, undisturbed by the actions of the gunas, knowing that it is of the gunas which act. They abide within themselves and do not vacillate. Established within themselves, they are equal in pleasure and pain, praise and blame, kindness and unkindness. Clay, a rock, and gold are the same to them, alike in the honor and dishonor, alike to friend and foe. They have given up every selfish pursuit. Such are those who have gone beyond the gunas. By serving me with steadfast love, a man or woman goes beyond the gunas. Such a one is fit for union with Brahman. For I am the support of Brahman, the eternal, the unchanging, the deathless and everlasting Dharma, the source of all joy. Chapter 15. The Supreme Self. This is a difficult chapter, for it deals essentially with the questions of theology and ultimate mystical experience. Krishna reveals that he transcends not only the world of matter, but also the immortal Atman that dwells as the conscious knower within all beings. Krishna has said that he is the Atman, but the paradox is that he also transcends the Atman. In the highest aspect, Krishna is Ishvara, the cosmic Lord, who abides in his own mystery. The liberated self enjoys union with Krishna and lives in Krishna's highest home. But the self does not become Krishna. The immortal soul, even when liberated from its mortal journeying, does not become God. The chapter opens with the image of an upside-down tree, a world tree rooted in Brahman, which branches out into manifold creation in the realm below. This is said to be an ashvatha, or pipal tree, a kind of fig. Like the banyan, it sends out roots into the air, spreading above and below. In this chapter about Krishna's most exalted nature, it is appropriate that his home, the highest goal of all, is described. It is an abode of light and eternal life, but its very nature is beyond the description of human language. Verse 4 uses an elemental and ancient word for the ultimate reality that defies all description, all human thought, tat, which means simply that or it. Here the Gita personalizes tat to the extent of giving it a home. Avyayam Padam, the immortal home, the eternal goal. Pada also means foot or step, and it is of interest here to recall a myth from the Vedas. At the beginning of time, Vishnu took 3 steps that measured out the entire cosmos. The third and highest step became a heavenly world, the realm of the blessed. In the Rig Veda, the poet longs to find himself in this home of the god. May I go to his blessed world, where those who love the gods rejoice. For there truly is the company of the far-stepping god, a fountain of honey in the highest step of Vishnu. The Gita describes Krishna's home as a realm of light beyond the light of the sun. Here we might compare the Gita to the Katha Upanishad. Here shines not the sun, neither moon nor star, nor flash of lightning, nor fire lit on earth. The self is the light reflected by all. He shining, everything shines after him. Even here, we are reminded that Krishna lives not just in the highest realm, but also in the world below, where both darkness and light coexist. In his divine mystery, he sends fragments of himself to become the inner self in each creature. In this sense, the self enters the body at conception, dwells in the body, and then departs at death. Krishna is the prana, the breath of vitality of the body. The Upanishads speak of 5 pranas. Here the Gita mentions the 2 most prominent: the prana by which we breathe and the prana that digests food. Chapter 15, the text, the Supreme Self. Krishna. Sages speak of the immutable Ashvatha tree and the tap root above and its branches below. On this tree grow the scriptures. Seeing their source, one knows their essence. Nourished by the gunas, the limbs of this tree spread above and below. Since objects grow on the limbs as buds, the roots hanging down bind us to the action in this world. The true form of this tree, its essence, beginning and end, is not perceived on this earth. Cut down this strong-rooted tree with the sharp axe of detachment. Then find the path which does not come back again. Seek that, the first cause, from which the universe came long ago. Not deluded by pride, free from the selfish attachment and selfish desire, beyond the duality of pleasure and pain, ever aware of the self and wise, go forward to that eternal goal. Neither the sun nor the moon nor fire can add to that light. This is my supreme abode, and those who enter there do not return to separate existence. An eternal part of me enters into the world, assuming the powers of action and perception, and a mind made of prakriti. When the divine self enters and leaves a body, it takes these along as the wind carries a scent from place to place. Using the mind, ears, eyes, nose, and the senses of taste and touch, the self enjoys sense objects. The deluded do not see the self when it leaves the body or when it dwells within it. They do not see the self enjoying sense objects or acting through gunas. It is they who have the eyes of wisdom. It is they who have the eye of wisdom see. Those who strive resolutely on the path of yoga see the self within. The thoughtless who strive imperfectly do not. The brightness of the sun which lights up the world, the brightness of the moon and the fire, these are my glory. With a drop of my energy, I enter the earth and support all creatures. Through the moon, the vessel of the life-giving fluid, I nourish all plants. I enter breathing creatures and dwell within the life-giving breath. I am the fire in the stomach which digests all food. Entering into every heart, I give the power to remember and understand. It is I, again, who take that power away. All the scriptures lead to me. I am the author and their wisdom. In the world, there are two orders of being: the perishable, separate creature and the changeless spirit. But beyond these, there is another, the Supreme Self, the Eternal Lord, who enters into the entire cosmos and supports it from within. I am that Supreme Self, praised by the Scriptures as beyond the changing and the changeless. Those who see in me that Supreme Self, see truly. They have found the source of all wisdom, Arjuna, and they worship me with all their heart. I have shared this profound truth with you, Arjuna. Those who understand it will attain wisdom. They will have done that which has to be done. And that ends, both of those chapters will end there. But yeah, so there was quite a bit going on there. We have Krishna talking about the different I guess you would say well, they call them what? The gunas? Sattva, Rajas, and Tamas. And it's like driven level and struggling. You know, your sattva is the motivation, your drive. While the rajas, it's very even. You're not descending, but you're not ascending. You're not getting better, but you're not getting worse. You're still just there. You're struggling. And it can be a part of a lot of, give rise to a lot of anger, a lot of, energy. The passions is what they called it. Which also would be things like frustration and yeah, and then finally is the Tamas, which is your sloth, indolence, just really yeah. I would see it as also a part of like depression, I would guess too, would be in that same feeling, because that's the ones where you're kind of just yeah, so and he talks quite a bit about how you have to have sattva as the controlling aspect if you ever want to go forward. And then in the second chapter, he talks about himself as the supreme self. He says there's two entities. You can be the constant change, because remember, one of the main things dealing with Hinduism, you're constantly living through life and being reborn until you can truly reach that utmost level. Otherwise, you're just in a constant state of rebirth. Now, if you reach that state where you true transcendence, you don't have to be reborn, you're the changeless spirit, and you can be with Krishna and Brahman and yeah. And then I guess Krishna calls himself the Supreme Self. And again, I guess that's where it's that kind of feeling. He's making it known that he is everything. So it is still dealing in the end with him, because he is the self, he is Atman, he is Brahman, he is pain and pleasure. We've talked about this duality where he's a little bit of everything. You may see polar opposites when you talk about these things, but he is so much more. But we'll go ahead and end this episode here. As always, educate thyself. Think, read, study, learn. Someone tells you something you have trouble believing, ask them to cite their sources. Thank you all for watching. I'll see you all in the next one. Until then, later.